I promised somebody I'd ask them why PCSOs go around in pairs. I've asked it, I don't expect an answer. The second point I wanted came from, you were talking about the neighbourhood watch. As Richard says, they don't work in Cambridge, but ECOPS does work, and I just draw your attention that that is a more effective means of getting information around to people in Cambridge. And you won't get neighbourhood watch back up and running in the city centre, I don't think. The real point I wanted to make, though, and I'll get to my question now, was I just feel that for what I might call the minor crimes, and I suppose most of the time we're talking about cycling and antisocial behaviour and the like, it's all about selfishness, people not paying due regard for other people, and bad behaviour generally. Would it not be possible in the long term, and it will take a long time, to using voluntary labour and endowing these people with the skills that are available these days in terms of persuasion and getting people on their side, to form voluntary groups that can actually get into schools, clubs, pubs, on the streets, trying to encourage people to take pride in their neighbourhood, both in terms of litter and being careful about the way in which they cycle. I think the Olympic Games and the Games makers actually demonstrated there's a hell of a lot of goodwill out there, and we need to try and harness it, but it will take time.
I mean, this is all part and parcel of my remit as far as the Crime Commission is concerned, to try to pull people together to get them to do just what you've described. There are various organisations that do get out and talk about what they do and point out issues to people. I know my wife, who's a magistrate, spends a lot of time going to schools and talking about what the magistrates do and how the system works. And we've got to try and bundle that together probably and talk about public responsibility in order to overcome the antisocial behaviour. Why do we want to stop antisocial behaviour? There's a very good reason, particularly the way it affects, and I keep coming back to elderly people. I'm so concerned about the way it affects elderly people, but making people responsible, and it's not a new thing. I mean, I've done a lot of work in the past with young people, and I'm still chairman of an academy. But I spent a lot of time helping the scouts and the guides, and youngsters that go through that are by and large pretty responsible people, and we've got to sort of try and sort of learn from that. But getting into schools is important. It's very important, catching people at an early stage. But once they're out of school, it's more difficult to get to them. But there are ways in which you can do that. Workplaces, some of the larger firms, getting them to take an interest. And I think that getting more people within the community involved, and I'm definitely going to be looking at some of our larger firms and smaller firms, being a chairman of a smaller firm, to play their part in the community and draw in the workforce to understand what we're trying to do as well. So I take your point. It's something, can't do it overnight, as you rightly say, but I want to work to that. I shall be holding some seminars in the future for organisations like your own and many others around the county to look at best practice and look at what's happening in other parts of the country. Believe it or not, Glasgow is very good at getting some of this over and correcting some of the problems that are there. So, yes, I'm going to be proactive on that front.